Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Source Material Podcast, episode 202, I believe. This evening, got a whole host of co-hosts. If that's a thing. Is that what you call a group of co-hosts as a host?
I feel like the word you're looking for is panel of guests.
Oh, panel. That's a good one. Maybe I should use that. Thanks, Mark. So here we are. We have come back together to discuss some comic book stories. And we've got a show tonight, and we're going to be picking up kind of where we left off in February with Aquaman Volume 1. We're picking right up from that with Aquaman Volume 2. And joining me this evening, or run down the list here, we've got a pretty packed panel, as Mark would say, starting with the one, the only, the patriarch of the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. Mark Radulich, how you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm just fine. I watched the first hour of Raw because there was supposed to be a shakeup, and they literally did the same angle they did at TLC last night. So apparently when they say we're going to shake things up and do things differently, it means we're going to repeat the same old shit. So I will not be watching Raw again for a while.
You did notice the WWE logo in the bottom corner, right?
What's that now? What do you say there, Sonny? I don't. My ears don't work too good.
Everybody flipped out. Vince McMahon's coming back to Raw. He's go. I mean, that's all I saw on my feed.
I was kind of hoping a piano would fall on him.
And that's the end. Now they close Raw. He died once. I guess he could die again. I've seen it happen. Anyway. So yes, all right. Well, Mark Radulich, he's upset about wrestling. Ronnie Adams, you upset about wrestling?
I'm always upset about wrestling.
We're out of that demographic now. Used to be, we would watch this stuff.
The demographic, that means we like to watch interesting and unusual television.
More like we like to do a comic book podcast when Raw is on.
Oh, okay.
That's the demographic apparently we're in now. We're podcasters, not wrestling watchers.
I was going to say, I'm still a young and vibrant man.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. And Ronnie Adams, welcome back, by the way. How long's it been? 3 weeks?
What?
You weren't on here last Monday. Don't even try to tell me you were on here.
Oh, I was here 2 weeks ago.
Was it 2 weeks ago? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Was that Superman Muhammad Ali?
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. He doesn't remember. Neither do I.
I don't remember things.
Moving on.
Breakfast.
Moving on. Coming back to the Source Material Podcast, fellow contributor to the Unspoken Decade. I think the last time we had this guy on, it was around Halloween, if I remember right. Chris Armstrong.
I think it was the Night Dance.
What was it? Night Dance. I learned a lot. Had a good time. That was a fun discussion. You've come back here tonight for Aquaman, and I almost completely forgot about you, and I apologize, sir. You sent me a message. You're like, "Hey, Aquaman Monday." I'm like, "Oh shit, yeah." So yes, sir. Welcome back, Chris. Are you ready to talk some Aquaman tonight?
Ready as I'll ever be.
All right.
Don't feel important because he done forgot you.
It's not the case. All right. And coming back from Aquaman Volume 1, he showed back up now for Aquaman Volume 2. Our good buddy Cole Marentette. Cole, are you ready to talk some Aquaman and the others tonight?
I am as ready as I'm going to be.
This is issues 7 through 13, came out in 2012. This is the iteration of the New 52 Aquaman, written by Geoff Johns, one of the more popular writers and of DC, of some of the greatest DC stories out there, in my opinion. When we start talking about, he was involved in Blackest Night, right?
Yes.
Okay. When we start talking Blackest Night here later in 2019, that's one of my favorite Geoff Johns stories. Again, art by Ivan Rice. We were impressed with his art on Volume 1. I don't think much changes here on Volume 2. So, Mark, now there's a reason why we are doing this book. I can't recall why.
I'll keep it brief because you have 97 people on this podcast. The new Aquaman movie comes out. When this airs, it'll come out this past Friday. It's already out in China and it's making zillions of dollars, making all the money. Why this particular Aquaman story in general? Back when they announced the Aquaman movie and I was putting together the 2018 schedule back in 2010.
There's
Way
so
before.
much truth to that statement.
To my knowledge, the main villain was Black Manta. So I went looking through the tombs and rooms to find a story that focused on Black Manta as the villain. And I came upon this one, and there we are.
Okay, very good. Well, I'd say the odd man out here is Chris, because Chris wasn't on Volume 1. He said he was interested in Volume 2, so I want to pitch it to you real quick. What made you want to hop in on this one?
Well, I'm not really a huge Aquaman fan, although I don't think of him as a joke like a lot of superhero fans sometimes do. But I really like this run, the Geoff Johns, Ivan Reyes run. So when I saw that was on there, I thought I should jump on and get a chance to chat about it, because I haven't read it in a while, so it gives me a good excuse to go back and reread it.
Cole, when we did the first part, we were very impressed with Volume 1. Did you stick with this Geoff Johns run like all the way through until Johns was done, and even more? Or
Aquaman is a pretty important comic to me because since the New 52 started, it is the single comic book I have been buying monthly to this day.
Oh, wow.
So you're still reading through Rebirth?
I'm still reading through Rebirth, and I'm enjoying it. I'm really liking what Dan Abnett has done.
Mark and Ronnie, before I get into the synopsis, we'll start with you, Mark. Anything else you'd like to add, like recap maybe Volume 1, what you thought of Volume 1 before we talk about Volume 2 there, Mark?
What I remember about Volume 1, other than they were fighting piranhas, magic piranhas, was...
You're not wrong.
was the two things that stood out to me were they dealt right up front with the idea that Aquaman's sort of a silly character. They just kind of confronted this idea, they embraced it, and it's not that they turned him into a clown, but a lot of what's surrounding Aquaman is, you know, like, oh, he's the one that talks to fish. Well, how useful is he? And all this other stuff, you know, like just confronting a lot of the silly mythology, fan-based mythology around Aquaman. The other thing was they introduced Mera as a serious character, a grounding character for Aquaman. And they not that they made her the star of the book, but they made her a force to be reckoned with. And I remember by the end of those first 6 issues saying to you how much I really liked her as a character, and, you know, that I was excited to see what they do with her in the film.
I can remember clearly, like, one of our favorite stories out of there, at least one of mine, off that Volume 1, was her interaction at the grocery store with some D-bag. That was very fun. And when they wrote this, it was kind of, I don't want to say unexpected. I didn't expect going into Volume 1 to like Aquaman as much as I did. And I think that's definitely a credit to Geoff Johns' writing.
Out of all the world of crap that was the New 52, I enjoyed Aquaman a lot. So I was excited to do this one. I mean, I've already seen the movie. I was luckily included in my friend who bought tickets to the Amazon Prime pre-show. So they did well.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. Yeah, we'll kind of talk a little bit about that. Spoiler free, but we'll talk a little bit about what our expectations
I'm
of
ruining it for everybody.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad I got you on here, Ronnie. Muted. All right, well, let me get into the synopsis here of Volume 2. Like I said, issues 7 through 13, Aquaman, and then we'll kind of toss the ball around and have a little bit of discussion. So here we go. Aquaman and Mera are still getting used to life on the surface when a scantily clad jungle woman named Yawara, a figure from Arthur's past, appears, warning him that Black Manta has killed a friend of theirs called Kahina and may be looking to kill the rest of the others. I put the others in quotes there, to acquire the relics of Atlantis. We learn that the others were a team comprising of Aquaman, Yawara, an animal empath and telepath who possesses the globe of transportation, which grants its possessor the ability to transport anywhere. Kahina, a precog seer who possessed the seal of clarity and is capable of translating any language into one the user can decipher. The Operative, a shadowy character who deals in espionage, possessing the Atlantean key, which grants its possessor the ability to open doors normally locked. Prisoner of War. He wears dog tags that keep him mystically attuned to the ghosts of his comrades. He calls them his patrol. He has the manacles of force. When clashed together, grant their possessor the ability to create a force field around his or herself, which can be extended in size to protect others in the circular radius within reach. And Vostok X. Vostok was raised in a solitary chamber outside of Baikonur Cosmodrome, taught to thrive on isolation so that he would become the ideal cosmonaut for the Russians. He has the Atlantean helmet. Wearing the helmet gives the wearer the ability to lack the need for oxygen, food, or sleep. Now, just to let everybody else know, I hopped onto I think it was Comic Vine, or DC Wikia, one or the other, in order to get the description for most of the relics of Atlantis and the others. So a lot of this stuff really wasn't too obvious at least to me, in these issues. So I had to do a little bit of digging and a little bit of research to come up with the backgrounds of these people, because they just kind of show up, and you're like, oh, hey, Arthur knows these people. You kind of figure out their powers as you go along and some of the relics that they have. Now, as the story unfolds, we are given a glimpse into Arthur's past. As part of the others, Aquaman blames Black Manta for the death of his father and is trying to find him. This mirrors the present, as Arthur is trying to track Manta to stop him from killing the rest of his former team. As the past unfolds, Arthur had found Black Manta's ship, and when he boards it, he is attacked. Rushing to the attacker and swiftly breaking his neck, Black Manta rises from the ocean, and it is revealed Aquaman has unknowingly killed Black Manta's father, setting into motion an unending blood feud. Present day, Black Manta finds Dr. Shin, an expert on Atlantean technology and Arthur's guardian for a time after Arthur's father passed away. And we ran into Dr. Shin in Volume 1 as well. Black Manta uses Dr. Shin to reveal the seventh and most powerful Atlantean relic hidden on an island, which is the scepter of the dead king that was actually used to sink Atlantis. Arthur sets out alone to face Black Manta and is nearly killed when the others, along with Mera, arrive. When Black Manta kills Vostok and promises to kill everyone else one by one while escaping, Arthur swears that Black Manta will die. Tracking Manta in the ocean, they find him offering the relics to an unknown Atlantean. Attacking Black Manta, they are able to stop him while the mysterious Atlantean escapes in their ship. When Aquaman finally has Black Manta down, Arthur does the right thing, turning his back to Black Manta as he is begging Arthur to murder him. So, all right. Now, Cole, I'm starting with you, because one of the first things that you said in the chat was you had some discussion that you wanted to bring up about the others, and you had some thoughts.
The others are a completely new super team devised by Geoff Johns to act as a support team for Aquaman. I think that as a whole, the implementation of the others was not great. They didn't really introduce them very well. We didn't get to see what they did or why they did what they did or any real information about them until much later when they got their own series in Aquaman and the Others.
Okay.
As far as these comics go, they're just a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
They're not really fleshed out very well, which is, I think, surprising coming from Geoff Johns.
Do you think maybe he was just holding back because he had it in his back pocket that this was going to be a series, or?
It's possible, but I think the whole Aquaman thing was such a gamble in the first place. They were kind of trying to catch lightning in a bottle. They were trying to recreate what he did with Green Lantern, which I think they succeeded, but this was him kind of trying to go in a different direction, and I don't think he was very successful at first.
Okay. Chris, you got any opinion on the others?
I like the characters. Reading this kind of made me want to go back and read that's the others. It wasn't a mini series. I think it went like 10 issues, something like that.
It went like 10 or 12.
Yeah, I think it got canceled eventually. But I was reading that when it was coming out originally, and I think I dropped off before it actually concluded. So I'd like to go back and read that series again as well. But I think he makes a good point that there's not a whole lot to. You get a little bit of an idea of kind of their histories and personalities and whatnot, but it doesn't bother me too much because this is Aquaman's book. I mean, the thing reads like it flies by. I read all 7 issues in less than an hour. So much is going on. It's so fast paced. There's really not a lot of room to breathe as far as the character development and stuff like that. So I get the point. He makes a good point. It doesn't really bother me just because it kind of reads more like a big action movie. It just kind of goes at a breakneck pace at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Mark?
First of all, I think the others feels like Aquaman's fraternity brothers when he went like crazy in college. Like it just It feels like he had just 1 year where he just drops off the face of the earth and he just went fucking wild. He doesn't put on a shirt. He's traveling around with a girl in a bikini and a Russian, and and they're just out there having adventures, and he's just fuck all. Which I kind of like, because as I've known Aquaman, at least in the modern era, he's the king of Atlantis. He's sort of struggling with his dual identity, and there appeared to be, and I don't know if there's anything written about this period of his life where he's just running wild with the others, but I'd love to read that now. I agree with what was said before about this reading like an action movie. It really did. Like I got home at about 5:00. I was done with this by 6. I thought I was missing pages. It read super fast. If we're just focusing on the others and not getting into Black Manta for just a second, I like the interactions with Mera too, where Mera is like, you never told me about your college friends, and he was like, and he was like, I don't like to talk about the time that we did XYZ. This thing just sort of erupts in the middle of his life, and Mera has a great line. I mean, you might think it's a common line, but I think it's a great line in the context of what's happening in the story. She's like, I just want to deal with this thing, and so we can get back to our lives. Like, this is this huge interruption that they have to deal with. So I really enjoyed all of that, and if I can find more stuff on that period of his life with the others, I would gladly give it a read.
Ronnie Adams, the others, man. What'd you think of the others here?
I liked them. I'm just like the other guys. I really wish there was more character development that I knew more before getting into this, but what I read, I really enjoyed. It kind of, I don't know if this is what they were going with it, but it put me in mind of Namor and when he was all bad attitude, and Human Torch and back in the, I guess, the 30s and 40s.
What is the name of that? Somebody help me. There was a team, wasn't there?
Oh, the All-Winter Squad.
All-Winter Squad. And Invaders, too.
And Invaders, yep.
Yeah. So, it was actually legitimately, Timely Comics, it was Marvel Comics #1 that put them out at that point in time. So it reminded me a lot of that. And actually, there is a Marvel character named Vostok who is Russian and who is an android. And it's like their version of, he's also called Sputnik, but he's a technokinesis, I guess you could say. Or,
is his power Russian cliche?
Yes.
Vodka.
All right then.
No, he controls machine. So I kind of got those. Like, I'm like, oh, this must be another version of that guy. And I'm thinking now, oh no, wait, that was Marvel, and that was another Vostok that was also Russian and part of the Winter Guard. But I really liked his character. It was super interesting to read about that. It was a very tragic character in my opinion.
Yeah, he goes up to what? He goes up to space, like after
to the moon, and
stays there. He's just staying there because that Atlantean helmet. He doesn't have to. He doesn't
sleep,
need oxygen.
Eat, breathe.
Yeah.
Poop. I don't know.
Don't recall seeing that in there, but we'll go with it.
Well,
if you're not eating,
the other.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're not eating. So,
and when he boarded the plane with him, and he said hello, and then he kind of coughed on his own words. He's like, "I'm sorry, I haven't spoken in 2 years." Holy crap!
Yeah,
you've just been, he literally said, "I've been sitting on the moon waiting for you all to call me," and I was just like, "Man, I want to know more about this character." The others are pretty good, but this one really, I bought into him. So I was super interested in the whole team.
Prisoner of War was interesting to me because he had all these dog tags, and then he could summon the people that were on his dog tags. I
thought he was the silliest one of all. So here's a guy running around with a mask on his face with no eye holes and his hands cuffed together.
It's just a potato sack on his head.
This sounds like a kid out in the backyard playing superhero. It's like, oh, I'm Super Guy. You have a potato sack on your head, but I'm Super Guy.
Yeah, I don't.
But you enjoyed Rorschach
explaining. How he can see or any of that stuff.
I'm convinced the artist was just, had actual sketches in mind for what the others should be. And then there were some doodles on the side. And one of them was just was a guy in a potato sack, and who knows what would have entered that picture later on if people had let him keep going. But they just happened to see it right then and there. And they're like, what's that one? He was like, that's my bondage doodle sketch. That's nothing.
Oh,
and then, they're like, Nick, no, that should be a character. He looks awesome. And they're like, sure.
All right.
And that's
Why
Nice.
not? This might as well happen.
The unwritten history of prisoner of war. All right, then.
I'll tell you, he's a prisoner, all right. Arrgh.
Oh, boy.
Mark, you make me nervous when you talk.
Put the manacles of force down, please. All right.
So you see where I'm going with this.
So make me nervous.
Manacles of force.
He's like, I make you nervous. It's Jesse's like playing right into the joke. See?
I just don't know what you're going to say.
All right, Mark. Black Manta. Hit us with your thoughts of Black Manta. I believe this is, and Cole or Chris, hop in here. Is this Black Manta's first appearance in the New 52?
I think he was teased at the end of Volume 1. Like, they showed him.
Yes.
But he didn't do anything.
That's right. Okay. All right. So Mark, Black Manta. What'd you think, man?
I love the idea of this blood feud between Black Manta and Aquaman. Also, this concept of Black Manta always being able to get away. You know, the idea that in a fit of rage, and misunderstanding, essentially, Aquaman killed his father. And I enjoy my superheroes where there's that bit of angst to them, that bit of imperfectness. I think one of the issues was like sins or something like that. I like that idea. That he's carrying around guilt over someone he should have never have killed in a situation that shouldn't have even have gotten as far as it did. And because of that, Black Manta is just this unrelenting force in Aquaman's life. That Aquaman, despite the fact that Aquaman is, so overpowered, he's got super strength, he's invulnerable, yada, yada, yada. And Black Manta's a guy in an Iron Man suit, but Black Manta keeps getting the best of him. So I enjoy that dynamic.
The Black Manta I'm familiar with is more along the Super Friends Black Manta.
Okay.
I always thought was
The really cool
silly.
one.
Yes, really cool. I was not going to say really silly. So I didn't know much about Black Manta, but man, he is a cool supervillain. Like, he really is. Knowing a little more about him now, and after, I'll be honest with you, after watching the movie, I was like, I gotta learn more about this guy. And reading this helped out a lot. It was even if it is New 52, it helped out a lot, and I have more respect for him now.
Okay. He is a badass looking character. I mean, you don't really see, there's only one Marvel character that I could think of that has a crazy ass helmet. And that would be Mysterio. So, I think of him
Black Manta, if we're comparing those two.
And Black Manta has this, and he has these laser beams. Laser beams, Mark Radulich, that shoot out his eyes.
Was that a thing? Does anybody know if that was a thing before the New 52?
Pretty sure it was.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Because I hadn't read a lot of Aquaman stuff before that.
Cole, Black Manta is here. It's the centerpiece of these 7 issues that we've read. His feud with Aquaman. What do you think of Black Manta and the representation here?
I am kind of going along with everyone else. I really enjoy the changes to Black Manta's history and giving him that personal connection to Aquaman. There was always a sort of tangential connection to him back in the pre-New 52 universe, but starting with the New 52 and going forward into Rebirth, they've given Black Manta a reason to hate Aquaman, and it makes his character so tortured and interesting. You can almost see his reasoning. You can almost be like, well, yeah, that makes sense. I understand why he hates this guy.
Mark mentioned about how Aquaman killed Black Manta's father accidentally. I think he assumed he was Black Manta, but I know you're an Aquaman fan, Cole. So what'd you think of this happening in these issues here, where Aquaman grabs a hold of Black Manta's dad's neck and just snaps it immediately? Is that something that took you by surprise, or is that something out of character? What's your thoughts?
When I first read it, I was extremely surprised. I actually remember setting my tablet down when I was reading the issue through Comixology. Aquaman has killed before. He doesn't have that compunction against killing like a character like Superman or Batman does. He doesn't do it often because it's not, a good thing to do. But if someone needs to be taken out, especially like in the 90s and the early 2000s when we had Hook Hand Aquaman, if someone needed to be taken out, he would just do it. But seeing him kill someone who was effectively defenseless, an older person, just out of pure rage snapping someone's neck, very, very surprising.
Took me by surprise. I kind of want to let our listeners know, and I might have mentioned it in the synopsis, but the whole reason behind this, Aquaman going after Black Manta, if I remember correctly, what they said in the book was there was a battle between Aquaman and Black Manta, I think, and then Arthur's father got in the way, had a heart attack. Black Manta didn't kill him, but his father had a heart attack and died in the midst of this battle. Therefore, Aquaman blamed Black Manta, and hence the whole trying to chase him down with the others. So now, Chris, I wanted to talk to you here. Black Manta and this whole Aquaman killing his father, do you have any opinions on that?
Yeah, I kind of liked the fact, like, killing the father, it almost seemed like he thought that was Black Manta. Mm-hmm. Like, he didn't, if he had known that that wasn't him, he probably wouldn't have done that. But I like the fact that Aquaman is not afraid to kill somebody. I mean, there's an image somewhere in this run where he uses his trident to run through one of the bad guys, and clearly a killing blow, you know?
Yeah.
And it helps separate Aquaman a little bit from the other superheroes. You know, he kind of needs more of an edge to kind of dissuade people from making the jokes about how lame Aquaman is and whatnot. So I like that they give him more of a violent streak. But he also doesn't kill, you know, he's not looking to kill everybody, but like if he's in the throes of battle and it can't be avoided, he's not afraid to do it. But yeah, the Black Manta's dad thing, that was just an accident. So the fact that he was willing to kill Black Manta is not too surprising. Plus, it was when he was younger. It was when he had it was, you know, 5 years previous.
Yeah, he was a hothead.
He hadn't really become Aquaman at that point.
He does need an edge because for a long time he's been known as the guy who talks to fish. Gosh, he was so lame in the cartoons. I mean, he just rode on seahorses and talked to fish. He wasn't like, I don't remember in the cartoons, you know, in Super Friends, him being strong or, you know, having super strength or invulnerable or anything like that. It was just he talked to fish.
There are two instances in modern comedy where, you know, well known, like, modern comedy where Aquaman is the joke is that Aquaman is a silly character. One of them is The Big Bang Theory, where, you know, they decide the main characters are all dressing up as Justice League people. Something happens and they add somebody to the group who ends up being Superman, which means that the one character doesn't have a character to play. So like, well, why don't you be Aquaman? And, you know, and the joke in that sequence is, oh, no, Aquaman sucks. And then he walks in and he's got the costume where he's riding the seahorse, you know, yeah. and it's just to keep playing on that. The other one is, actually, there's three. The other one is Family Guy, you know, where there's a girl getting raped on the beach. And Aquaman swims up. And
it's Family Guy. Don't be surprised.
And the girl's like, help me. And Aquaman just kind of like peeps his head out of the water. He's like, hey, you better cut that out. He's like, what are you going to do about it? He's like, I'll call fish over. You know, stuff like that. Because that's I think that's the perception of Aquaman, is that, you know, he isn't this badass, like, Superman strong king, you know, who's like snapping necks and breaking hearts. You know, he's this guy who talks to fish, you know, like he's Frasier or something, but underwater.
So I take it, Mark, that you like this. You like being able to see this kind of mean streak coming out of Aquaman here against Black Manta and his father here.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any other commentary on Black Manta or this the fact that Aquaman snapped an old man's neck?
The whole thing about that is that it was an accident. He thought it was Black Manta, and he was doing it because he thought Black Manta was responsible for his dad dying. I mean, you know, it kind of reminds me of. Jesse, you know this one. We just talked about it recently. Star Trek V, where, you know, Bones is sharing his pain, and he was like, I end up pulling the plug on my dad, and the next day there's a cure, a goddamn cure. You know, he thinks Black Manta killed his dad. He's like, well, I'm going to kill you, and it turns out his dad died of a heart attack. You know, this is what gives our characters dimension, and it's what I like about it.
All right, well, let's get into some favorite parts here. Chris, you got any? We got 7 issues we covered here. Is there anything that you really liked, stuck out amongst this series?
I don't know about any specific, like, storyline, like plot points or whatever, but just the art. I mean, I think it's outstanding. Ivan Reyes is probably my favorite artist, especially on superhero comics. And it kind of started with the Aquaman run. That's when I really realized, man, this guy's probably the best superhero artist in comics right now, and he's kind of been my favorite ever since then. The scene where he uses when Aquaman uses the trident and kind of runs it through Manta's helmet and rips it off his head. That's probably the one that stands out to me the most.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good action sequence right there. And that whole fight, they're going back and forth. And then when he gets that scepter, I think he hits Aquaman with the scepter, I think, at one point, or maybe he hits the earth. I know it's a very powerful weapon.
Right.
And it sunk Atlantis. That ends up getting given to the hidden Atlantean that came up there. Aquaman thinks it's Orm, which is his brother. Is that right, Cole?
Yes, his half-brother.
Okay.
Their mothers are the same, but their fathers are not.
Ocean Master?
Yes, also known as the Ocean Master.
Ah, okay.
Also known as Steve.
I know
Scuba Steve! All right. Mark, what's your favorite part out of this book, man?
I think my favorite part was Mera reacting to Tigra, whatever her name was.
Dang it, Mark.
Come on.
Why? Wanda.
Yawara.
Your mama. Got it.
I knew it. It wasn't going to result in anything but another joke. But go ahead.
Yamara, was that her name?
Yawara.
Got it.
Sure you did. Call her something else. Go ahead.
No, I'm trying to get it right now. But I like the interaction between Mera and Joanna Man.
I knew it. Jeez.
Where just instantly there's that jealousy and in Aquaman, and Aquaman's sort of this like uncomfortable, almost like sitcom position of like, well, who's this bitch? It's like she's fine. She's this girl I knew from college. I gotta go deal with the thing. And she's like, well, come back. And just all this stuff happening, and then Mera dealing with Dr. Shin, who we really haven't talked about too much, but, her like insisting, like, he tell her what's going on and everything. And I liked Mera. I like Mera's reaction to things. I really like her as a character. It was probably my favorite part of the book.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, I think I'd probably get the side eye too if a woman just teleported into my living room wearing a bikini and
saying, "Come with me. we have a thing we got to do. Come on."
Oh, the old side eye.
Remember that trip we went on, a couple of years ago? Yeah, I need you to come back. Did I mention I'm wearing almost no clothing?
I mean, I'm not married, so that would be pretty cool.
Well,
speaking as a married person, if a girl teleports into my living room wearing a bikini, 80% certain my wife's going to be like, "What? No, no, you can't go." 20% says, "Sure, whatever. I'm going to bed." So there's that.
You want to talk about Dr. Shin? I mean, I don't know if you have anything to add about Dr. Shin there, Mark, but I kind of left him really out of the synopsis other than just brief little description, because even though there's definitely a history between him and Arthur, it seems like he kind of stepped up into the place of as a father figure. But he's
promptly betrayed him.
Yeah. What did he do again?
He wanted recognition for having found an Atlantean, and so he exposed who he really was, and Arthur's life got turned upside down because of it.
That's right. Yes. Okay. That's why we have that scene where everybody's like outside of Shin's house, and Arthur's in there crying. He's upset, and all these people are just mobbing this house, trying to get Aquaman to come out. He comes out, busts the door down, and then promptly jumps into the sea. And Dr. Shin felt very guilty about that. So throughout the whole book, it's implied, or Yawara's accusing Dr. Shin of teaming with Black Manta. Yeah. So, but yeah, you kind of feel sorry for him because he definitely regrets what he did, and he's not really in cahoots with Black Manta. As a matter of fact, he refuses to try and help him figure out where this scepter is on this island. So it's a bit of redemption, I guess. But I can barely remember him being in Volume 1. Kind of pick up, just like you said, we kind of pick up almost immediately after Volume 1 ends. Ronnie Adams, you got any favorite parts in this book?
I was with Mark on the reactions when he's like, we share a link, and she just gives him that look. He's like, a telepathic link. She's like, not better. I thought that was really funny, and they really fleshed her out as a character in this, and it was I liked her. Overall, the book I thought was a great read. Just like Mark said, it's a pretty easy read. I read it today, in fact, as well after work, and I was really surprised that I got it done in time. So I guess that and the fact that they really took lengths to make sure that Aquaman is not as lame as people have made him out to be.
Yeah.
They gave him that killer's edge.
Cole Marentette, tell us about your favorite parts of this book.
Well, actually, both of them happen in issue 13. It starts right at the beginning where Arthur is perched over Vostok's body, and he's completely broken. And he says, Vostok is dead, Manta dies next. Yeah. And just that moment is just where you can see Aquaman is finally done. All the pretense is gone. He's going to kill Manta. Mm. And then conversely, the moment when Aquaman stays his hand and does not kill Manta, even though he's done such horrible things, shows real growth for the character and shows that he has embraced the life of the superhero over, the vengeful kid that he once was.
Yeah, it says a lot about the character of Arthur and Aquaman moving forward. But give us your overall thoughts there, Cole, on the book itself. You got any final thoughts, overall thoughts here?
Even though I did find the characterization of the others, at least at this early stage, kind of weak, Volume 2 of Aquaman is a great read. It's got fantastic art, as always, but the characterization between Aquaman and Black Manta really setting up this rivalry, this hatred between the two characters is very well written and very nuanced. You really get a sense of why that some superhero rivalries you don't get. Like, even the biggest one, Superman and Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor hates Superman because he's an alien. Superman doesn't really feel one way or the other towards Lex until Lex does something. He doesn't have that sort of personal connection to him. Whereas Aquaman and Black Manta, there's that deep-seated hatred that there's really no chance of ever coming back from.
Yeah. Chris, overall thoughts?
Yeah, well, one more thing I should have mentioned in my favorite parts real quick was the revelation of the operative when he takes his mask off.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was, yeah.
He's basically dressed like a SHIELD agent, pouched up, bodysuit. Yeah, he gets back to his lair, which is like a flying fortress, which is also pretty cool. Takes his helmet off, and it's like literally a grandfather. His grandson is like his Alfred, basically, and who's probably in his 20s. So I'm guessing the operative is probably a 65-year-old man, but he's out doing acrobatic stuff. That was really cool. But yeah, overall, the book, I thought it was really good. Not quite on the same level maybe as the first story arc of the Johns run of Aquaman with the piranha people. But I thought it did a good job of introducing these characters, the others. And I'm kind of disappointed that DC has kind of dropped the ball on them. They had a series of their own that went, 10, 12 issues, something like that. And I don't think we've seen anything from them since then. But they're all pretty interesting as a unit. I thought that they could be something that the DC could use more of. Unfortunately, we haven't seen much of that lately. But yeah, the art is top notch. Geoff Johns is one of my favorite writers. I thought he did a great job. So definitely recommend this on the heels of the movie coming out. Hopefully some people can discover it. They go to, even though this is a pretty different iteration of Aquaman, I think, than what we're going to get in the movie. A great Aquaman story. Maybe aren't that many out there.
Ronnie Adams, overall thoughts on The Others, Volume 2, Aquaman.
There are so many things I want to say, but that has a lot to do with the movies. So I'm not going to say that.
Spoilers!
Yeah, so you've already declared this a spoiler-free show, so I'm going to keep tight-lipped on that. Man, I enjoyed this book a lot more than I thought. I'm actually would like to read Aquaman and the Others and see where that goes. But I enjoyed seeing, like Cole said, just the changing character, the maturity of Arthur, Aquaman, from just to coin Mark's phrase, of the frat kid going into actually becoming a man and making wise, mature decisions.
I want to add to this that I think that the plot to this story would make for a great sequel to and not having seen the movie yet, I don't know where it gets left off, but I think the idea. I think if Black Man, if they didn't kill Black Manta by the end of the movie, I think him chasing after these Atlantean relics and Aquaman. Maybe in Aquaman going after him and then introducing the others would make for a really, really cool sequel.
Now, the movie released what? Was it this past Friday?
It comes out this Friday. But there were Amazon Prime advanced screenings. If you live in China, it's already out. Actually, when this airs, it will have come out this past Friday, by the way. Yeah. Time travel.
Well, hey, all right. Well, okay. So, Mark, why don't you, I know you're the movie guy around here, so why don't you kind of give us your thoughts on what you expect?
I mean, just from the commercials, it looks gorgeous. So as long as, Jason Momoa doesn't stand, on top of a gray, rainy city yelling out Martha, I think we'll be fine. I mean, it seems like it's a good action adventure.
That's it. They're all named Martha in this.
Everyone's named Martha. This is my brother Martha, my other brother Martha.
And, the secret Atlanteans
and kills everyone.
You had no idea that all the Atlanteans were named Martha. That was
from what I understand. James Wan did an excellent job with the CGI in this movie. Which this is something that Robert Winfrey and I talk about on Damn You Hollywood. Is that with some of these movies, the star isn't the actor, it's the CGI. If the CGI comes off looking like the Phantom Menace, you're fucked. But if it comes off looking really, really good and believable, and you're transported to a magical place where a man can talk to a fish, then you're in pretty good shape. And at this point, you either accept Jason Momoa as Aquabro or you don't. I'm kind of going into it with an open mind. It's 2018. We're not getting a blonde-haired Aryan Aquaman. We're just not. Live with it.
It gotta be Aryan. That's horrible.
I mean, I don't think that's the reason we're not getting. I think it was more we need this Game of Thrones guy in a superhero movie. Well, how about Aquaman? Okay,
and that's fine. I'm just saying.
Aryan? Really?
Yes. Aryan looking. Was that not implied?
Continue, Mark.
Thank you. I don't know what I said wrong.
Everything.
Shut up, Ronnie. Anyway,
I love you, Mark.
As long as the CGI, which from what reviews I've been reading, the CGI is spot on. Jason Momoa is what he is. But as long as he's surrounded by characters that can kind of like prop him up and then just let him be Aquabro, I think you're going to have a good picture on your hands. I mean, the problem with the DCEU, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with the YouTube channel, it's just some random guy, but his claim to fame was doing the I'm a Marvel, I'm a DC parodies, which was the I'm a Mac, I'm a PC commercial. Okay, so he's still doing those, by the way. One of the things that he said in one of them, which I thought was a really funny line, is someday Warner Brothers will figure out that not everybody is from Gotham.
Nice.
And that was the problem with Man of Steel, with Batman v Superman, was that Zack Snyder kind of had one view of what the DC universe could be, and it was that everybody was a brooding, depressed character. Then you have Wonder Woman that comes out, and it's a really hopeful picture, and you've seen promos for Shazam. Shazam looks like it's going to be hilarious. Yeah. So I think Aquaman's a really good place for DC to sort of plant a flag and say we're not doing everyone's depressed anymore. We're going to do interesting, fun pictures that you can bring your family to and have a good time. So that's all I ask for.
Chris, do you get out to the movies much?
Yeah, I work at a movie theater, so.
Oh, well then.
Then not at all.
Yeah, I work part-time at a movie theater.
All right.
So I see pretty much everything. One of the things I do is pre-screen movies as quality checks to make sure everything, plays through properly.
In other words, you see the movies early. I get what you're saying.
I mean, only like a day early. It's not like...
Okay. I have a question. Last weekend, did anyone go see Mortal Engines at your theater?
I did.
I'm not really supposed to talk about that stuff. I don't think it did very well. So
I didn't go see it at his theater.
Me and Ronnie are the only ones that saw it this weekend.
Pretty much.
What the hell is it? I didn't see any advertising for this thing other than what you guys started posting on Facebook, so I have no idea what this is about. I heard something about steampunk.
That's half the problem.
No marketing.
You didn't see the trailers about London attacking people?
I have no idea what's going on. What is this?
It's an amazing concept.
Picture this. It's Mad Max, but the cities are on wheels, and it's in New Zealand.
No.
Elevator pitch.
You made it sound so much worse than what it is.
Well, okay. So I guess then my next question is pretty much already answered here, Chris. You're going to be seeing Aquaman then when it releases.
I'll probably watch it Wednesday night.
Okay.
I'm excited about it. I really disliked the DC movies. I'm kind of conflicted about. I don't really like Man of Steel, even though I think there are great parts in Man of Steel. Batman versus Superman has a lot of problems, but I like that a little more. And then Wonder Woman was really good. Justice League I thought was really bad. And one of the worst parts, like that scene with Aquaman and Mera in Justice League, it's only like a minute long and it's unwatchable.
Ooh.
I just think they're so bad. Amber Heard and Momoa. I'm just talking about that one scene in particular. I think Momoa seemed like a cool dude. I've liked Amber Heard and stuff, so maybe they'll be okay in the movie. I don't really like the Surfer Bro Aquaman approach, but I think that's pretty much the only thing Momoa can do. Mm-hmm. So I get it. James Wan is one of my favorite directors. I love everything he's done.
Do you think at any time during the Aquaman movie, Aquaman will break out into Dothraki?
I don't think so.
Well, which is something I just learned this past week. I thought she was talking Klingon when she said that. I was like, okay, wait a second. Why the hell would Aquaman be talking Klingon? Game of Thrones, ladies and gentlemen. I still haven't watched one episode. All right.
I've seen,
and we're going to keep making that same joke.
Well, I've at least seen the first season, so I'm actually ahead of somebody. Everybody else I know is like, what? You've only seen one season?
Red Wedding, man. Red Wedding. Oh, what the hell is that? Okay. Is that like Billy Idol and White Wedding? I have no idea. Okay.
Yes. Yes, two characters in Game of Thrones get married, and Billy Idol walks in and just hits the people with a guitar and calls everyone slapnuts.
Everybody's dead.
Come on.
Bang.
Why did that turn into a Jeff Jarrett thing all of a sudden?
That's Jeff Jarrett.
Why not?
Freaking, oh my gosh, man. El Kabong.
Like you, Billy Idol channel Jeff Jarrett.
That's brilliant. All right, Cole, okay. Look, I know you're an Aquaman fan. I think the last time when we talked Volume 1, we were discussing Momoa taking over Aquaman and what our thoughts were. So have you become more hyped for this iteration in the theaters?
I actually have. In the intervening time, I've checked out some of Jason Momoa's less publicized stuff. He did a really good Netflix series called Frontier, which I suggest everyone go watch.
Oh, it's so good.
Keep wanting to do a TV party on that, but I'm having trouble finding people who saw it and want to talk about it. It's usually they saw it and don't particularly need to talk about it.
Fair enough. But anyway, I've rewatched Justice League, and I see where they're going with the Aquaman character. They're kind of trying to make him not exactly Wolverine, but he's the Wolverine of the team, if that makes any sense.
Okay, yeah, I think I follow you.
He's kind of like the loner, like the darker, lonery kind of character, which is weird when they've got Batman right there.
True.
Hey, buddy, you're muscling in on my rackets.
But anyway, I actually have this Thursday and Friday off, so I'm probably going to try my best to get out to the theater, even if I have to go alone, to go see it opening night.
There's a lot in this movie, so if I can talk you into going in the middle of the day.
Why are you suggesting that?
Other people won't ruin it for you.
Oh, okay.
I actually got stuck next to a guy that ate popcorn like a cow chewing cud, and I thought I was going to be jailed for making him stop. It was awful.
My favorite thing in the movie theaters is when the person next to you feels the need to narrate the movie for you.
I would have killed him. I would be in jail right now if it was on top of him chewing like that.
Ouch. Well, all right. Well, I think this brings our discussion of Aquaman Volume 2, The Others, to a close. I don't have anything else here on the old notes, so we are going to go ahead and get into plugs. Chris Armstrong, do you have anything you'd like to plug, sir?
As per usual, I don't really have much going on. You can follow me on Twitter at BrodyMan34, which is mostly just me talking about what movie I'm watching at the time. I have a few things I'm working on. As I've said before, and as you mentioned earlier, I've done some stuff for The Unspoken Decade, which is a 90s comics website. And I've got a couple of things I'm working on now. And in the new year, I'm hoping to start doing more with that, maybe doing stuff, maybe getting 2 or 3 articles up a month, but we'll see how that goes.
All right, very good. All right, we'll move on to Cole Marentette, sir. I know you stream some streams on the old Twitch, right?
I stream some streams. You can find me and recently friend of the show, Sean Comer, co-hosting each other's streams on twitch.tv/thefilmtwit. We get together every Saturday to play Monster Hunter, and we do some various things in and out the week. But that's basically what I've got going on.
Okay, very good. Now, the charity stream thing, that ended last month, is that right?
Yes, Extra Life. That ended, that was November 3rd.
I'm a little bit behind. You made some money, though, right? You got some, you got at least to do a little bit of a donation, right?
I made a little bit of money. I made more than my goal, which I'm pretty excited about.
Good.
Planning on doing it again next year. Again, not to bring him up twice, but I'm going in with Sean. We're going to do a team up kind of thing, try and double our money.
Cool. Very cool. All right. Well, Ronnie Adams, of the Screaming Boy podcast. It's his favorite introduction. Tell us what you got going on over there, Ronnie Adams.
Right now, not much of anything.
There's some hot plugs, let me tell you.
Hey, guys, what do you do? Nothing. All right.
Nothing.
Next, nothing. All right. Next, nothing.
Well, I have a show called Screaming Boy Podcast where we talk about pop culture, nerd culture kind of things, and we have been on a slight hiatus because of technical difficulties, aka my computer pooped the bed. We've been doing a lot of network exclusives here on the Radulich Broadcasting Network, and it's been a lot of fun. Really great shows on here. I say that hoping that people would agree with me, but no one has done so yet. But we have shows such as the life and times of, the rise and fall of that one dude that did
Bill Cosby?
Bill Cosby, thank you.
Oh, no problem.
Got my back. But we did the life and death of Toys R Us, the rise and fall of Toys R Us. We did we paid homage to Stan Lee. We did a lot of stuff. So it's been a lot of fun. I really, if you want to check it out, you can do it right here on the network. You can go on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeart, all of those different wonderful streaming platforms. Thank you. Stop.
Hey, I got your back, bro.
But and check out all our older shows, which are a lot of fun as well. And then we have social media, which is Facebook and Instagram would be Scream Boy Podcast. Twitter would be at Scream Boy PR.
All right, Mark Radulich, the Druids have dropped off the schedule, and it is your time to pay tribute and give us what is upcoming on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network.
Well, if you're listening to this on the day that it drops, let me wish you a very Merry Christmas Eve, first of all. And tomorrow is Christmas Day. So for those of you who celebrate Merry Christmas and, of course, Happy New Year, to the day after tomorrow, on the 26th of December, we will be doing our Damn You Hollywood review for Aquaman. We'll have Alexis Hana on the show, and she will drool over his man boobs.
Momoa.
And if you don't like it, she'll curse you. She'll curse you in Dothraki. The previous week you can hear our Batwoman episode. It was Batwoman Elegy on source material. Speaking of Alexis Hana, the next night it was supposed to just be Elseworlds with Pat Mullen. But he, for some odd reason, has this giant hard-on for Spider-Man Enter the Spider-Verse. Like, he hates it with a fucking passion.
He's going to talk about that.
He hates it.
In other words, he hates it.
Yeah, he hated Spider-Man Enter the Spider-Verse. So you can check out our split 7-inch. We have a half a TV party tonight and a half a Damn You Hollywood as we look at the Arrowverse crossover Elseworlds, which he also hated, and you'll get to hear why he's the only one on Earth who apparently hated Enter the Spider-Verse. So tune in
everything, Mark.
Tune in to watch him spit hot fire at me for an hour as I try to understand who touched him as a child and why he's so angry.
Oh my God.
What did you think of it, Mark?
I loved it. I thought it was great. My kids thought it was awesome. They were really well behaved through the whole thing. I have a 4 and an almost 8-year-old.
Nice.
They thought it was great. My daughter loves the Spider-Gwen character, and that got her through most of the movie. My son thought the funniest thing in the movie was the extra credit scene with Spider-Man 2099.
Yeah, that was
honestly, that's all he talked about after the movie was over. And he kept doing the "you pointed at me first" bit. So 2 hours in this movie, that's what he came away with.
Kid.
Okay. Last week was also our Metal Hammer of Doom Christmas show. Jesse and I went over a holiday-specific list. You can tune in to find out what that was as we listen to Tarja from Spirits and Ghosts, score for Dark Christmas.
You stopped because you had to make up everything about that band.
I can't remember the title of it. So yes, last year, 2017, Tarja released a Christmas album, one of her, and I didn't know this, Jesse, but as we talked about on that show, she has a separate category of album releases just called Winter. And this was one of her winter releases.
She
so
has
not
a fucking album season?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's her metal albums, then there's her winter albums, and unfortunately for us, this was her winter album. And boy, does it and it felt like it took all winter long to get through it.
It was long and cold, and it was not fun.
But I was cold and wet and had pneumonia by the time it was over. So if that doesn't sell you on listening to it, I don't know what will. But come check out our Metal Hammer of Doom, where we celebrated Christmas and made fun of Tarja. Oh, Tarja Bomb. Next week, it's New Year's. We're breaking right into 2019. We'll be doing the Bumblebee prequel comic on New Year's Eve. New Year's Day, Robert Winfrey will continue to contemplate suicide as he has to review Bumblebee, the movie, with me. A movie that everybody else loves, and I'm sure he will hate, because him and Patrick are the same person. On January 2nd...
Statler and Waldorf? Is that who it is?
Statler and Waldorf from the Muppets, man.
All right.
On January 2nd is our Metal Hammer of Doom year-end special. I will play some tracks from metal albums this year that we could not get to review, and I don't know what Jesse's going to do, but I'm sure it'll be entertaining. Jesse, what do you got planned for us?
It'll be entertaining.
All right, then. And then finally, on January 3rd, Alexis Haina makes yet another appearance on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. This time, she'll be doing a TV party tonight as we review the new She-Ra cartoon from Netflix, a love letter to the LGBTQ community. We'll get to see what that's all about on January 3rd.
Very good. Well, I'll throw in the old canned plugs here at the end. So for Chris Armstrong, for Cole Marentette, Ronnie Adams over there, Mark Radulich with the schedule tome, I'm Jesse Starcher. We'll be talking to you next week. Thank you all for joining us. Have a Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Turn off my living room light. Oh, just turn it off.
Which one did you want?
The living room light.
Oh, jeez. Questions and whatnot. And, you getting your yawns out of the way. Mark Radulich, you got your yawns like...
Mark's already asleep.
I'm still trying to find suitable music for this podcast.
Sorry, Mark, we're going to have to start the podcast.
You know he's got blinders on when it comes to stuff like that.
You interrupt the podcast once you figure out what we're going to do, all right?
You know I will.
I know you will.
Yeah, how do we get out of this chicken shit outfit?
You started it.
Mark Quincy stealing stuff from Ronnie Adams there.
It's my shtick.
You know what you should have? A schedule.
Now he has a tome with a magic rock.
I mean, the shipping on that alone had to have been just outrageous. They're
It
like,
cost 3 mortal souls.
It was brought to my house by druids.
Excitement on this show is running wild.
Bear with me. Try not to fall asleep, Mark. Here we go.
That wasn't me, fuckface.
Wow. That was a little aggressive.
And that was you yawning. Tell him.
Are you eating the chips, Ronnie? Are you doing the ons?
Gosh, that is old. It needs to be let go.
No, it does not, sir. That needs to be repeated almost every other podcast. Here we go.
Never ate chips on this podcast, but I will.
I have